that says Science Fair Guidelines for Biology Students, okay? Remember that we have been working on the Science Fair guidelines to be able to make sure that we're ready for the Science Fair, okay? What I want you to do is the next deadline you have for this quarter, and it's going to count, as a lab grade, okay? Is you need to go down to where the blue links are, and you're going to download the experimental design diagram. Does everyone see that link?
Yes.
So you're gonna open it up, and I want you to save it on Notability, okay? The reason that we're saving this into Notability is this is what you are going to have to annotate, okay? So it's important that you save it on Notability for now, and once you finish, where do you place this item in? In the Google Drive. Remember, you have a Google Drive that I checked on previously in the quarter, and that Google Drive there is for you to be able to keep all your resources. Juan, record me so we can continue. Okay? So, the deadline for this is going to be on Friday, 2/28/25. And you need to submit it as a PDF on the posted on campus assignment. So you have a little over a week, but quite honestly, you can probably complete the majority of it today, okay? And I'm gonna guide you through it. This is what you have to complete. And I want everything to be completed. You don't have to print it. I just need you to submit it as a PDF. I'm going to print everybody's, and I wanna give you feedback. This is the most important part of the planning phase of the Science Fair. This is your outline to make sure that you know what you're doing next year and to make sure you pick the right supplies, okay? Because the next step after this will be materials and procedures. How you fill out each of these sections, you already know. We've been doing experimental design since the beginning of the year that we started with the seed germination lab. When we did the seed germination lab, like the second week of school, you completed an experimental design diagram as a group. But now you're doing it individually based on whatever proposal you decided on. And remember, the previous deadline to this deadline was research. You all looked up your topic and ideas to make this next stage easier. If you forget how to complete any of this, the second page will define it. The title should summarize the problem statement, include a relationship between the variables. Your problem statement is a question. A hypothesis should be cause and effect, so it should be as an if-then statement. Independent, dependent, and constants, these are stuff we talked about. Remember, and I'm going to give you hints in a second. Tests and trials and control tests, that's something that I will explain in a couple of minutes. I'm going to give everyone 10 minutes now. And in this 10 minutes, I want you to fill out the following. And remember, you have access to your proposal. You have your Google Drive. This is easy. Name, student number, course, and period. In this class is Honors Bio, period 1. And that's to make it easier for when I give you back the feedback, right? You're going to come up in this 10 minutes with a title. Problem statement, you already have it in your proposal. Copy it over. This should be a question. Your independent variable we talked about. Independent variables, what you manipulate. This is what you are controlling / testing in your experiment. Your dependent variable is the one that responds. This is the one you're measuring. And lastly, constants are the things that you keep what? The same. To make sure that the experiment, the only variable you are changing is what? Your independent variable. Everything else needs to be held constant. So right now, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to complete those sections. Stop it. Now, I want to point out the following. There's 30 students in this classroom. I teach 125 students. I teach a lot. I don't have time in class to individually talk to you, to check your individual experimental design diagrams. If there is at any point that my example, you still don't understand it, how to apply it to yours, it is your responsibility to come see me. I'm here in the mornings, I'm here after school, I'm here during freshman lunch. Do we understand that? So the only thing that I ask is this deadline is Friday, February 28th. Do not come here on Friday, February 28th, because I will not answer questions on that day. My suggestion to you is complete this by the end of the week. This week, whenever I say you're done or you finish your quiz early or there's free time, but there's hardly any free time, but like extra time left over, this is what you should be working on. Do we understand that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's imagine, I'm going to use the seed germination lab. So I'm going to say that my title is Seed Germination and Salinity. That's my title. Because the problem statement that I'm going to be investigating is, what are the effects of salinity, which is a fancy word for what? Salt, on seed germination. I'm skipping hypothesis, and you understand why I don't do hypothesis first. I like to identify my variables next. So, both my title and my problem statement should give me insight into what my variables are. Seed germination, salinity. Salinity, seed germination. Those are my two key variables. What can I control? What can I vary?
The type of
Thank you, Derek. Salinity. And what am I going to measure? What can I measure? Seed germination. I should be specific. Am I going to count how many seeds germinate, or am I going to measure the length of the seed? I'm going to count number of seeds. Okay? I now have independent, dependent. My variables that held constant, I need to make sure that the only thing that I'm changing is salinity. Nothing else should be changed. So the environment that I place the seeds on should be the same, correct? The type of seed should be the same. The length, the growing time, how long am I going to let them grow for, should be the same. The amount of water that I give them should be the same. Does everyone understand what constants mean? Now that I have my independent and dependent, and you should have technically done research already, I'm going to say if salinity increases, then seed germination will decrease. Your hypothesis is a relationship between the variables. Do you see that? And it's written as an if, then. Do you have to do, and some middle schools do it, if, then, because? No, I don't want because. It's only if, then. The because is your analysis and conclusion that you do later, not right now. You don't need to show me your thought process right now. Any questions so far on any of this? So now all I'm missing is test, trials, and control tests. Do you not agree with me? Do you agree with me? Okay. Test. There's two types of tests that you can conduct. Control test and experimental test. Your control test does not have the independent variable, or is what we call the normal condition. So my control test is when I'm going to grow the seeds with 0% salt. Do you understand that? I'm not going to add any salt to the seeds. So that's my control. So one of the tests is going to have 0% salt. That's one of my tests. And then you should have 3 experimental groups. Your experimental groups is how are you going to vary the salt? I'm saying that if it increases, then it's not going to germinate. So if I start at 0%, maybe I go to 2%. Maybe I go to 4%. Maybe I go to 6%. Am I increasing the salt? Yes. And then my trials is how many times am I repeating it? The bare minimum, unless you're doing population studies, that you need a higher population. But if it's this, how many trials per test do I need? 3. That is how you complete the experimental design diagram. This is your outline. Why do I say this is important? Some of you have decided to do studies on plants. And if you do a study on a plant and you've got 4 tests, because it's 1 control and 3 experimental, how many plants do I need? 4 times 3? 12. So you need to be mindful that you're not going to pick a plant that costs $50. Because 50 times, how much are you going to spend just in plants? A lot of money, right? You want to pick a plant that is inexpensive, or you want to use seeds that are very easy to germinate, sprout, or grow, and you can buy them on Amazon super cheap, okay? So be mindful of the equipment. Any questions on this? Okay, Juan, turn it off.